Types of debt. Another thing people don't understand about debt is that it isn't all the same. There are different kinds of debts, and some of them are worse than others. Here are two different types of debt you might be dealing with: secure and unsecure debt. Any debt you have is going to fall under one of these two categories. Secured debt. Secured debt is a debt that is incurred by something of value that could be a house, a car, a piece of jewelry, and so on. If you were to default on your loan, there is a physical object that the lender can come back and take from you. Unsecured debt. By contrast, unsecured debt is debt that doesn't have something concrete to back it up. So, with unsecured debt, we are talking about things like dinners out, a night at the movies, a vacation to the Bahamas, and other things like that. If you don't pay back the debt, your lender can't come back and seize your eating, steak dinner, or the movie ticket you have already used. Most credit card debt is unsecured debt. Some people think that secured debt is the same as good debt, and that unsecured debt is always bad debt. That is true sometimes, but it's not always the case. Good debt versus bad debt. You must know that the difference between good credit and bad credit is based on the way you use it. If you use it as a consumer, it is a bad credit. If you use it like an investor, credit becomes a good thing. The same is true of debt. Consumer debt is bad debt, whereas investor debt can be looked as good debt. Consumer debt is bad because it adds no value to anything. In fact, the things you are going to buy here are going to go down in value, so you are actually losing money in the long run. Basically, anything you buy that isn't going to increase in value or increase your income is going to count toward consumer debt. Examples of bad consumer debt are designer clothes, cars, HD TVs, and so on. All of those things are secured debts. There is something concrete that the lender can seize if you default on your payments. But as time goes on, your car is going to decrease in value. New technology is going to come out, and that HD TV won't be worth nearly as much as you paid for it. Anything that loses value is bad debt, even if it is secured. On the other hand, investor debt is good debt. Investor debt is debt that you take on that is going to add value to your finances in the long run. If you buy a truckload of renovation materials, that is good debt. After you put those materials into improving a house, this house is going to go up in value, and you are going to make back everything you spent and then some more. You use that debt to make money for yourself in the long run. The same is true about education. Going into debt for your education is the same as making an investment in yourself. You add value to yourself, and because of that, you will bring a higher income in the future. That student loan debt gets paid off, and you are bringing more money on top of that. Educational and training debts are example of good debt that is also unsecured. The lender can't speed in and take back your education after you have gone through it. But that student loan is still going to add value to your finances in the long run. So you can see that secured debt isn't always good debt, and unsecured debt isn't always bad debts. There are also some things that fall into the good debt column or the bad debt column depending on what you are going to use them for. For instance, an iPod is a good example. Most of the time, if you buy an iPod, it's going to be a bad consumer debt. It's the latest gadget and you wanted it primarily for personal enjoyment. Over time, new technology is going to come out and the iPod is going to go down in value. Therefore, your value is decreasing. You are losing money. However, say you are going to use that iPod to run your business. If having it is going to increase your income, that is a different story. Now you are using it to add value to your finances. Anytime you add value, we are no longer talking about consumer debt. We are talking about investor debt. The catch here is that you have to be honest with yourself. If the laptop you already have works fine for running your business, then buying the iPod isn't going to add any value you didn't have before. In that case, it would still be consumer debt. However, if having the iPod is going to give you added mobility, and if that mobility is going to allow you to make more money than you could have otherwise, then it is increasing your value again. You are back in the good debt territory. Education is another example of debt that could be good or bad depending on how you use it. In most cases, you are going to use your education to get a good job. The idea is you are going to make more money at this job than you could have otherwise. So that adds value to your finances in the long run and it falls under invested debt. However, let's say you get a degree in performance music and then you pick a career as a real estate agent. Having that music degree probably isn't going to help you sell more houses. In that case, the debt you have taken on isn't going to increase your value in the long run, so it becomes bad debt.